Hello and welcome. I'm going to talk about World War II and the Pacific Front. So it all started when Japan attacked the United States, in Pearl Harbor. The United States at this time, they were neutral. Yeah, so it appeared that they were neutral. They really kind of weren't. Japan needed materials from the United States, and the United States refused to sell it to Japan. Japan felt like their hands were tied, and they attacked the United States. So that's when the United States entered the war, and they're part of the Allies. So they fought all across, the Pacific. The United States mostly fought Japan, and we fought in Europe as well, but we took the big brunt of it for the Pacific. There was a lot of amphibious fighting, and this is where the Marines they really got their the Marines have been around for a while, but this is where they got that tough guy persona was from World War II. They really earned that reputation. So why the war started? Who fought? Like I said before, Japan they were expanding. They had that big expansion. They were just taking over islands. They're trying to get the Philippines, Saipan, Guam, all those the Marshall Islands. They were just trying to take over that whole area. They were trying to keep everybody out. They really needed the resources like oil, rubber, and their expansion was part of getting all those materials. So the United States, were also guilty of expansion. So that was clashing with Japan's plan. So that didn't work out. So who was involved in the war? Well, the Axis, it was Japan, Germany, and Italy. The Allies, United States, Republic of China, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and the Soviet Union. They joined a little later. Oh man, the Soviet Union. If you go back and look at some history from that, they took a beating. They lost a lot of people, but they gave it their all in the fight as well. So the Battle of Midway. This was a massive fight. It was a lot of air to air combat, dogfights. We had planes that dropped bombs, dropped torpedoes, you name it. They dropped mines, and that really made a difference. That's where air superiority really took off. The United States was able to break the code for Japan, so they didn't know it till it's too late. We were always a step ahead of them because we broke their code and we were able to intercept their messages. So one thing with aircraft carriers, it's like a floating island. It's like a forward base. So having an aircraft carrier is huge. You could park one off a nation or an island or some asset, and you can protect it, and you can really make it cause some damage with an aircraft carrier. So when we took out four Japan's aircraft carriers, that was really bad. So the carriers it allows to the allies to transition to an offensive strategy. So we were island hopping, and I'm going to talk about that here more in the next slide. So island hopping. So that was a concept that we came up with in World War II. Japan had a bunch of islands near their nation, but we didn't really mess with those. Those things were really fortified. So we went for the islands that were a little bit more easier to take. They weren't easy to take, but they were definitely easier to take than the islands around Japan. It was Saipan, Guam, Tinian, the Marshall Islands, and today all of those are U.S. territories. So they're still they're people that live there. They're basically U.S. citizens in a way. So our key technology, it's aircraft carriers, right? They replaced the battleships. Back in the old days in World War I, we had the battleships, and they were huge. They did make a difference. World War II, we used battleships, but we did use our aircraft carriers. Decrypting codes, Submarines were huge on the attack on Pearl Harbor. Not one submarine was sank, and luckily those submarines survived. And we used those in the war. The U.S. submarines at that time only made 2% of the fleet, but those 2% of the fleet, which was submarines, sank 50% of the tonnage of the enemy tonnage of the ships. So that was crazy. So Following the bloody Battle of Okinawa, U.S. decided it was time for a full invasion of Japan. But then they had one option left, and that was dropping the atomic bombs, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After that, Japan surrendered. They didn't want it anymore. They said we're done. That was the backbreaker for them. The U.S. military deaths in World War II, 25% of the deaths occurred fighting the Japanese in the Pacific. So it was a really tough war. If you go to Dave, I've been to Saipan a few times. If you're walking down the road in Saipan, you still see tanks on the side of the road. They're broken down. You see them right off the ocean, and yeah, you just see them all over the place. It's a reminder of World War II, and to never forget. They never cleaned them. They're not going to remove them. They're going to stay there forever. Radiation, it did cause a lot of contamination. That radiation today doesn't affect anything in Japan, but that took a lot of years of healing. Still, the ecosystem is screwed. It's damaged. Even if you go to Pearl Harbor today, you go to the Arizona Memorial. If you're there, even to this day, you go there and there's still oil coming up, and that's not good. That's not good for the water. It's not good for the ecosystem. All the birds and the fish. That's really bad. So shoot, all these years later, we're still paying the price, and it's going to be like that after we're gone too. So, two quotes. The industrialization of warfare came to a climax in World War II, which has a unique status among the wars of the world. It engulfed 1.7 billion people, three quarters of the world's population. That's huge. The second quote: World War II and its continuation. The Cold War brought about global militarization of various landscapes, affecting directly or indirectly all continents and leaving remnants and scars that are still visible all over the world, especially in ecological sensitive areas. Okay, this is crazy. My AI quote research. I put in the question. I said, "Can you give me three historical primary source quotes from World War II about the Battle of in Saipan during World War II?" So I got three quotes, and then you read the quotes, and like, wow, these look really good. These are nice quotes, right? But then you go to the actual sources. The first one was from an American Veteran Center. It's like a non-scholarly source. It's just some guy that threw some stuff up on a website. The other two quotes came from the same place. It was like a blog for this guy who he's moving his blog to a new blog that he started, and he just throws up random stuff. And Chat GBT quoted this stuff, which is crazy. Like, you would think they'd quote from a historical society or from an actually scholarly source. These were pretty much three websites that got put up by some random guy with no sources, nothing. It's crazy. But that's it. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry I went over the time limit, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.